Hi, everybody. Good morning. So, we'll start with today. We are actually supposed to go with Node.js. So, Node.js said anything covered, Priyambika?
Sir, no, sir. We
No,
were
no.
going
Okay.
ahead with Angular only.
Angular only. Okay. So, we'll now start with Node side. So, Node side, how to integrate with the backend. That is, we call it as database or anything. First is we need to have a backend ready. From generally the thumb rule is the UI, whichever the UI we call it as Angular material, that should talk to only one code behind. That is one his server. If you are going with multiple server, then accordingly you need to prepare the certain events. So first is to do that. First is it has to talk to one node machine. That is we call it as a REST API, microservices. The word microservices is being used here. So microservices, it can be one microservice, it can be multiple microservice. So Angular material can talk to multiple microservice as well, but generally it has to talk to one microservices. That is better, so that security wise everything can be handled in a effective way. It can talk to multiple services. There is no doubt or question on that. It can. But from the security point of view and other scalability, not more than scalability, it is security point of view. It is better to point to one node service. So the node service we are using Node.js as a backend server. That Node.js is where that Angular material will talk to. So it will talk to this Node.js through two possibilities. One is called using interceptor. Another is using microservice service component. These two components are in part of the Angular. We'll come to that later. First is we'll create a Node.js site, create a DB connectivity, and try to connect to that DB through some query and all. We'll just make the how that structure is to be built. We'll do that. Then we'll take it forward to the further extension.
Sir, your screen is not visible.
No, no, I'm not yet shared yet. Yeah, I'm going to share now only. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen now. So that is what we are going to see now. So first is how to create a node project. And while we are creating a node project, we'll ensure that first is we need to create a node project. For that, there are some prerequisites required. We will create TS project. That means TypeScript project. We don't go with a JavaScript project because JavaScript project is not in use nowadays. It is purely a TypeScript. We are moving more and more into the TypeScript. So we'll go ahead with the TypeScript project. So in that sense, there are cases where you can take the help how to create a TypeScript project. You can put and take a help. For time being, what I'll do is there are two important things to create a node project. I don't know what is the folders I have. I'll just list down. Yeah, we have FS project, FS project 1, FS project 2. FS project 2, we'll take it as a final one. We'll use either FS project or FS project 1. We'll use FS project 1. Project 1, I'll use that. In this, I create a directory. I create a directory called what I call a node server. So node, I create a directory called node server. I use the word server or I use the word TS server. TS server is the backend code for us. I made the character thing. Go inside that project. I'm going inside the project. Inside there is nothing. I hope you are all seeing my screen and voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. In that, I can say npm init. If I want to go with default option, I can put -y. If I want to go with all created with the default option, what it does is it creates one package.json file. That's what it will create. So under this package.json, nothing else it will do. It will create this particular TS server as a project. It creates a package.json. That is what the init does. So first it will ask for the project name. I'm doing without -y. So he will ask for the package name. Package name is TS server. I leave it off. Version is 1.00. Description, backend service for FS project 1. I just say as a description. Entry point index.js. So I leave it as it is. I'm not changing anything. So if I don't want to go each one, I can always go with -s. -y. -y, if I put, it will not ask any of thing. It will just create a project and it will create a project dot a package.json. Make sure I am creating underneath FS project. FS project is where I have my Angular material there. Within that Angular material, I am connecting now, creating a TS project because I want to connect to this TS server from Angular directly. So I'll say yes, it is all done. So this is created. Now basic setup is done. There are now two ways I can create this particular subsequent files. There is for any TS file, I need a tsconfig.json. There are several ways that can be created. So either you can use cut and paste code, which is if you have already a code, you can use the cut and paste code. Otherwise, you can create a default config file as well. For all this, the most important thing in any of the project is, I'm just taking any of the one of the existing project. If I go there, tsconfig JSON, it is the pre-created JSON files. So I can copy paste this entire JSON into the file. This is the, without this file, you cannot use the TS script. You cannot use the TS script without this file. So, but most of them are commented. If you notice, most of them are commented. This is for advanced options. According to your option requirement, you can go with the commented code or you can override those codes. That is one. This TS lint JSON is also equally important. So these are all the one which uses for package creation, etc., etc. I'm using Webpack. For time being, we don't have to worry about Webpack configurations. Webpack is for compiling the entire data set into one component, one small file, so that the output will be one single file. So that is the one. I'm using SSL. That is for some other reason. Let us not worry about. So I want index.ts file. This is my starting package. This is my starting point. So these are all some of the starting points. So first is we need to worry about package.json. So package.json, this is what it has got created. Forget about scripts. So if you see here, package.json, there is a scripts, test is there, name, version, etc. That is what you will see here. Name, version, description, main. Main is index.js. You can see that main is index.js because that is the starting point. There is no change in that. But how do we convert that TS file into JS file is what that compiler does. That compiler, in this case, that is the dev build tsc-p. This is what which will create the compiler. This is the one which creates the package. These are all we can create on our own. The next important thing is dependencies. In dev dependencies, when I'm using a TypeScript, right, there are certain mandatory things that are required. I'll just take this copy of this, then I will remove whatever I don't want. Underneath, I'll just copy this. I'll then explain what is required, what is not required. I'll go back, new window. I'll give this file to you. After removal of all the unwanted components, I'll remove it and then give the file to you. So TS JSON file also we need to have FS project one underneath TS server. This is the project. I want to open the entire project. I can open it like this as well. Then the left hand side, I see a TS server within the main project. This is my Node.js TS server. In this TS server, package.json, after this ISC, I copy this dev dependencies and this. For time being, I will not worry about all this. I will remove all this. The Postgres we need. Log server, let it be. Compression module, let it be. Abort controller, it's not required. I'll remove that. Compression, how you want to transfer the gzip, they use the word gzip. Compression, it will help you to gzip the content that is moving from server to Angular. So compression, we are keeping it. Dev dependencies. Types, @types are nothing but TypeScript equivalent. Express we need. When we need express, when we are taking the query directly, that means Angular material to connect to our thing, we use the HTTP request. For dealing with HTTP express module is very important. Node also you need a TypeScript. Node fetch you don't want now. Express we need. TS loader we need. TS node we need. Node dev we need. TS lint we need. TypeScript we need. All these are pre-prepared packages that we need. We need all these pre-prepared packages. Right? So dev dependencies, all this compression for time being you can avoid. You cannot comment the line, but you can later add it also. So compression also for learning purpose we don't need. Cars also we don't need. Cars is for security reasons. Security reasons, cars is required, so we don't need. We need a promise router, yes, to simplify it. Sometimes I don't use also, in most of the cases I don't use. So I remove that as well. Let it be for time being. So PG is for Postgres. So what I did is, I know these are all I require it. So I put this now inside your, please note it down. I'm putting it inside our script, inside our questionnaire. These are all mandatory elements we need. Package.json. Sorry, I'm going to go to browser, go to questionnaire. I paste this over here. This is dependencies. This is dev dependencies. So we are going to use the TypeScript also, TSLint also. TS node is the TypeScript node conversion. These are all very important from the. I have given now dev dependencies and dependencies. You need to add it as part of your script. So this is under package.json. If you have this, there are a lot of significance when you say caret symbol before that version. Sometimes you will have @ symbol, sometimes you have caret symbol. All this having own importance in Node.js thing. So I leave it at this now. We don't have to worry about. This is for the compatibility purpose. So whether my node is compatible with this versions of the packages or not. Node as such, it's an independent candidate. It only supports JS version. TypeScript is a separate project. For TypeScript to enable the TypeScript, these are all the packages that we require. All these packages, I have now put it as part of the JSON. Save the file. Save the file. So I put it as part of the JSON. Save the file. Once you save the file, everything is dealing with the package only in most of the Node project. So we need to have appropriate project with us. Otherwise, package with us. Otherwise, we may have a difficulty in writing the code. So The Express module is the most common module used in almost, you can see Express module, the number of downloads, if you notice here, Express NPM package, NPM Express. If you see the installation of NPM Express, it will be huge because most of the, you can see 23 million every week. 23 million downloads every week because that's a package commonly used with Node. If you want to use the Node as an API, REST API, that means you are connecting with the HTTP request. This is a package which is a mandatory package. And this community supports this Express module. Express module is mainly for framework. It is a web framework. Anything you are to deal with web, it is a framework that needs to be used. And Node.js Express module is what? It's a mandatory and very useful. You can see the unpacked size is only 214 KB. It only takes care of the integration between external world, that is your hardware, and the Node.js file. It just takes care of that integration. So that's all. It is having a huge data documentation. It's a huge module by itself. Okay, so that is you can see the million downloads per 23 million downloads happening every week. You can see the power of this package. That means so many people are using Node as a service. Okay, and it is exclusive for Node. So once I do this, my job is to just do the installation. I also remove this Vincent so that is also you can cut short. I just have the Postgres PG. NPM PG is this another package that we are talking about. NPM PG, it is the Postgres what do you call integration package with Node.js. That is 3 million downloads every week. That much of people uses Postgres, and their new downloads are happening 3 weeks. 3 million downloads are happening every week. Okay, so how to connect to the Postgres through our package is what is given here. Node package, the Postgres package. So that is, so PG we need because we want to connect to the database. Our aim is from front end, I want to validate the user, whether user exists or not, or I want to register the user. I want to insert the user data into my Postgres. Then I need this. So either you have a PG local installation in your local machine, or you can have a cloud-based, your own cloud. If you have, you can manage that with that as well. Both are possible. We don't expose our cloud data to you, so we will not expose that. So we will ensure that that is not available to you because it is our own network, and I will be using a cloud version. Using an IP address, I'll be connecting to the Postgres. But in your case, you cannot do that. So because we restrict those, that is the thing. So anyway, now having said that, I want to now install all these packages, made my node ready. That means if I go to directory, it will have empty thing now. If I go to package.json, right, then you can see the package.json, the content you are seeing. So go inside that folder, npm install. npm install is the command. Whatever is not there as part of your package.json inside the node server, in our case, node server is TS server. Whatever packages you have told them to install, if that packages is not there, he will install. And the version that you have mentioned, he will install that version. So Express Node Postgres, it is 8.1.0, but we are telling them to install 8.0. That is the version that we are telling him to install. 8.8, sorry. It is 8.8, whereas 8.10 is the version that is available in the cloud. So since I put ampersand, that is a caret symbol before 8, that means it will exact matching in version only he will install. He will not use the latest version because this caret symbol means exact version, matching version he will install. So tilde is there, before version there is a tilde, before version there is the @ @ means latest version, compatible version. There are multiple reasons, that is explanations for all that. If you all this need arises, you can go through the documentation to understand what is this tilde means, what is this caret symbol means, what is the @ means. You can go with that. So right now, all are caret symbol. That means he will try to install the exact version. That is what he will do. That is the purpose of npm install. If you don't want to do this, you can give the package name one by name in the one by one here, space separated. You can give the package name as well here. That also is fine. That is the for simplest thing. Rather than putting it everything here, I am adding it directly onto the install, so that will get automatically created. So npm install I'll do. So packages are getting installed now. Minimalistic packages we are installing now. Okay, and there are 292 packages and 26 packages looking for funding. That means you can contribute to those packages if you want. You want to know the details, npm fund, if you do, it will show you which are all the packages require the public support. You can go ahead, and with that also you can go ahead. So totally 292, there is no zero vulnerabilities. That means you are compatible now. You are now ready to start. If I go to the directory now, you can see now package.json. There is called package log.json. There is called node modules. The node modules is the place the entire packages got installed. If I go and do the directory within this node modules, you can see all the packages that has got installed with the sub packages dependencies. Everything might have got installed. Oh, something I did, I have not saved it. Something I don't know what that problem is. If I save it and rerun npm install, automatically the changes will be done. So if we go to the node modules, you can see all the packages that are default packages as well as the packages which uses sub packages. Everything you will see it in the behind the scene. Some are node default packages. Express what we have installed. Express is what we have installed. NodeMon is another package that we have installed. Right? Then FS module install is by default available. Okay, and then we have types, cars, etc. So all that is in the top. Types. Underneath types, you have a cars. Cars is not required because I removed that package. This is not required. I can remove it from here also. Then TS-lint package will be here. Types nothing is there. So types TS-lint is not there. So TS-lint as a package it will be there. It may not be part of the types. Types PG, yes, it is there. These are all types descriptions are added as part of the PG module. So if you want to use the TypeScript for compilation purpose, I need the type module installed. So if you see any of the package that you want to download, if you see any of the package, you can see here module supported. DT is also another higher version of thing. This is called declaration modules. At types.pg is automatically, it is always included as part of PG. When you install PG, types also gets installed. That is what declaration types. Second, it will also support TS. That means types is not required. It will by default support the TS. That will be TS will be the candidate that may be there. So it is also TypeScript supported. There are some packages you might have noticed not DT TS itself. That means that package is available as a TS package itself. So these are all the things which you will know whether this package, whether it is requires a TypeScript description or it automatically supports the TypeScript, that you will know. I'll just take one example here. Express node mon. I don't put any node mon. I don't put anything. I'll just check the node mon here. I have not put any type here. I just put nodemon, npm nodemon.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, we have already done with the NPM init and all those things. We didn't touch with the PG Express and Nodeman
Okay.
alone.
Yeah. Express you are not touched, right?
Yes, sir.
But TS lint and all?
Sir, we have done with the node with respect to the JSON, like
JSON, JS file.
yes, sir. So we
Okay.
did
Now
those
that is why
things.
TypeScript I am taking.
Okay, sir.
TypeScript, it is very important because the entire project is living with TypeScript today. We are directly going with TypeScript. Okay. So nodemon, if here also it is only DT support. So there are packages where it will automatically support TypeScript. Then it will have a TS as a name of the package. You will have a TS as a support in that instead of DT. That means that package is default supported by the TypeScript command. That means I don't have to do any additional description or any other information, declarative statements or anything. That is what it means. Now we created it. We have created a TypeScript project. Now project is ready. Now we need to start our coding. So to start our coding, as I said, the first and foremost important thing is TS-lint file. The TS-lint file, without that JSON file here, that is TS-lint JSON and TS-config JSON, you cannot start the project. So these two files are very important. I don't know whether I can upload the file or not. This you can share it through GitHub if required. You may have it in your project, Priyambika. These two files you can share it to the team. Okay. So these two files I'll copy and move it as part of, you can see as part of a package in the same directory folder structure. I just copy that file. Without that file, I cannot start the project. So underneath TS server, I just copy paste the TS lint and TS JSON and TS config file. These two files are important. There are simplified version of the TS file. You can use that as well. That means remove all the comments. It becomes a simplified version of the TS. With this file only, we can start the Node.js project. These are all default configurations available. So we don't have to do a lot of thinking in these files. Only things you can enable, disable, etc. ES target is generally 2020 is used. I am using 2016 because of my project compatibility. In my case, I can change it to 2020. That means ES 2020 is what the target version that I compile. It will take the compilation as per the version of ES 2020 version. That means those JavaScript upgraded versions will get used. Okay. And allow JS true, it is default. Whatever commented and the value is, that is the default value. If you want to allow JS false, you can uncomment it, then make it false. So in that way, emit all that. Everything is default. You go with. You don't have to look too much here. Always strict true. That means everything will be validated for its syntax, etc., etc. Library check, I made it as false because I'm not checking the worried about the completeness of the library. Default library check true. That is, since this is skip is true, I don't bother about that. So then these are all some of the important things that we need to ensure. So that is the TS script, base TS script that we need to have it in our project. Once that is done, now our job is to create the index start, that is entry point to our code. The entry points are created using Express. As I said, Express is the entry point module. So first is I create a index.ts file inside. The index.ts file should be always in the parent directory. The parent directory is where the package.json is, because you can see here main, I am not giving any directory or anything here. So it is to be part of that main directory itself. So I create a file now. I don't create a JS file. I'll create a index.ts file. So new file, I'll say that is my entry point. So this is the entry point that system will have. This is the TypeScript. So what is system? What are all the things the system has to do? That means we have to, our aim is as a Angular material, he will make a request to our API. So our API, that is REST API. This REST API is what the TS server is all about. So this request is received from Angular material. The request is received by node. So first is I need to make sure that is done. Then only I can do the subset. So first is I need to have a server. This Node.js file need to act as a server. So how do I make that server? That is where that Express module is used. So Express module, if you install, import that package into this file, then I can create, that's a web framework. As I said, it's a web framework. So web framework, I want to establish the web framework here. So in this case, I don't want to use everything. First is I want to use Express. I don't need anything else. I just copy paste this, import the entire Express I just want to use. So what is the next thing? Once the Express, I want to start the service, start the server. Start the server is nothing but, yeah, this is important. This I'll come to that little later. That is important. This is the one. This is my server. So once I use the Express, I create an app as an input candidate. Express module, I'm binding to that app. Once I bind it to the app, I'm app.listen. That means I'm listening to the default is 3000 port. You can use that. We call it as FS project node server, node API node server listening on port HTTP. That's all. So now what is happening is we can now we have created this server. We can now run this server. It will listen now. What does it mean? Listen means I opened this port for the external world to connect to my system. It is a local place. That's why it is HTTP port. I am not using HTTPS. It's purely HTTP service. Okay, HTTPS, there are different things that we need to adopt, that is adding the certificates and all. I'm not doing that now for time being. For us, locally, first we'll do it, then we'll go into the SSL and other stuff. So once with this done, I just run. What I need to do, I want to compile the build. Once I compile the build is ready. So the compilation is taken care by two. One is NodeMon. NodeMon takes care of the TS file as well as index file. He uses both. So NodeMon TS. So he compiles both. Now you can see FS project API node server listening on port 3000. That means now this project is opened in 3000 port. It is listening. It is listening. How do I know that? I go to my another normal command prompt. Normal command prompt. I open a normal command prompt. IP IP not IP config. Netstat -a. I use netstat -a. This will give me the entire, sorry, netstat -a. This will give me all my, you can see the 3000 port. 3000 port is in listening now. So I'm listening to the 3000 port. It is waiting. There are so many other ports are listening. But in my thing, I am now created a 3000 port and 3000 port is listening. Now I go and change the port name so that you are sure that this is what in code. I'll try to just change this into 6000, port 6000. Port 6000, F, control F first. node mon, it will automatically recompose the node mon, it will automatically recompose. Now we see it is 6000 port. If I go to netstart -a again, -a again, you can see now 6000, not 3000. 3000 is no longer there. It is 6000 now. Like that, if you use for Postgres 5432 port, Postgres uses default port is Postgres is 5432. So that will get used. Now I am not connected that port. That is why it is only in listening mode. Once I connect, you can see an established here. So established is once you establish a connection. Right now I am not established a connection. So it is a I'm just making sure that is this port is 6000 port. I'm listening to. That is what server is all about. Now our server is ready. The server is in listening. Perfect. Now server is listening, but what server has to do? What data that has to come from the end user. So that is what we call it as routing. Here also we use the word routing. So that means first is I need to know that I'm getting the request from the right people. That is the first thing that I need to validate. That is an authentication. I need to validate that I'm coming from the right people. If you are coming from the right people, the second thing is I need to ensure the method, that is what I want to do it, what action I want to perform in the node server. So what perform I have to do? For in our case, there are two things that we did. One is login screen, another is register button. As soon as I do a sign up, I want to add the data into my database and acknowledge. That is what I want to do. So there are positive flow, there is a negative flow. So one, I can register the data, insert the data into the Postgres. I can give back the acknowledgement saying that successfully created. Second possibility, I try to create the register, but some reason I'm not able to create negative scenario. So both I need to give a response back to the user. So that means node server listening itself is not sufficient. Listening has to take me to certain activity. So login is one activity, register is another activity. These are all the two activities that we are going to plan. We have planned. So register activity, what it does is it has to come to some place, see whether that register activity is there or not. If there, you just call. These are all you call it as a method. One is routing, another is method. Domain we have established localhost colon 6000. That is my domain and port number where I am listening to. Second is where is my route? The route is the // You will generally use the word here in our, if you see here, we generally say, assume that it is a local host /API. API is my routing place /register. Register is my external, that is method. Register method I'm going to call using API. Of course, it is 3000, not 4200. 4200 is Angular material. So 3000 API register. If I do this, it should be able to register the data inside the table. That means, do I need an Angular? No, it is a microservice. Even without Angular, I can use Postman also to generate this request. So microservices is all about that. I can use Postman also to generate the request. So we'll first see that. Then we'll integrate Angular with this one so that you will know how the backend is also connected. So first is 3000 is my domain. That is where I'm listening to. Then I want API is my routing. In this case, API is a all routing. I want to keep it as my API as my folder. You call it as folder. Then register is one of the method within that file. So in our case, what we are talking about here is, I just come out of this. Okay, I just come back. 6000. First is I need to create a route. So route is nothing but a folder for me. New folder. I call it as API folder. It can be any name. It doesn't matter. It can be any name. It doesn't matter. Inside this API folder, I want to create a new file, api.ts file. This is my router, API slash I put, right? That slash is nothing but this TS file, whatever I want to configure. Can I write everything on the index.ts? Yes, you can write everything onto the index.ts. Absolutely no issues. But that is not the way it is generally done. Routing can be, multiple routings can be there. Each route can be independent by itself. API is one route. You can have another route. Another route may be something else. So I have multiple routes in my projects. I don't have one or two routes. I have multiple routes in my project. So each validation is different. The way it validates is different. You can see here. In this case, Kafka is one route. Controller, one instant. This is one route. One instant pay is one route. Onboarding is one route. So it has its own set of methods, a set of validation. So one pay is having its own set of validation. So you have multiple routes created to ensure that validations are different. It is independent, and any code that we change, it doesn't affect the other router accidentally, so that it is clean. Right? So we go with model view controller architecture. So right now we are going to go with model view controller. So this is my basic routing. This is my controller. This is my model. So controller is a separate folder. Model is a separate folder. Routing, in my case, I'm going with the API as my input routing. Inside that, I can have multiple routers as well, multiple calls. So I need to know, once this is done, my next job is, this also uses Express. So make sure that Express module is also called here. So what it does, etc., you can put it here. So router from Express. So router is what? Because we are using a routing module. So inside that API TS, I use the router module. Inside that router module, the first thing that we need to do is, I call this guy. So this is the one which exposes this API towards the outside world. Mount module exports router. So the router is exposed to now index.ts, provided you call this route. Now this file I want to integrate here in index.ts. So I can use import from, right, require dot slash or dot slash, nothing is there. I'm in index. I go to the API. What happened? Express, I'm in index.ts, right? Okay. So dot slash API slash API dot ts. So this is the file I want to use. So I want to use now router. So I will call it as, I'll use the word index.ts onboarding routes. So I use the require, instead of import, I use the require. So I'll use the same. Instead of, there will be a reason for that, we are using constant. So I'll go with constant. So in case I'll say API require slash dot slash API module slash API. So that is the, I want to use this. This is my mounting route. That means I've integrated now in index.ts file, load this API.ts. So it is loading here. Now it doesn't mean that I can now connect to that API.ts. For that, I've loaded the file in my system. So that is where the routing, the real routing, you have to write it here. And then that I need to use it here, mounting routes. We call this as app.use. So here app. Once you declare the app, app.use. So I want to give, this is my external, how they will connect to me, API, where to connect API. So I now say, whenever my request, I'm talking about now this area. I'm now going back to the URL. I am now declaring this. Whenever I have this domain and API, it will reach now to this API because 3000 is the domain that is listening. Now it will reach here. Oh, there is an API. Oh, API is API matching. So if it is API, I don't read further components. You please redirect to this TS file. That is what the system says. As soon as you see a API, please redirect to api.ts. So here you need to write the method. That is nothing but register method. That we'll see it in our next class, that is tomorrow. So how to create a register method so that we now able to flow. Then how to test that whatever we created, how to test it without a physical DB. After that, I'll come up with a physical DB. Okay, that is next. Tomorrow we'll try to see both. So I end this session with this. So I'll just, I don't know whether how much I can copy paste. File, I don't know whether it will allow you or not. What shall I do? Hmm. How are you transferring, Priyambika, all this
Sir, we need
information?
to copy and paste only. There is no other option I could able to
Okay.
see.
So I put it underneath. Okay. I go back to my questionnaire answer. Question and answer. I just put it API slash TS server. TS server slash API dot TS file. Right underneath, I just put this. This is underneath that. You just keep it created, keep it ready. Okay. Then TS server slash API slash index dot not slash. Okay. Index dot TS file. In this TS file, I copy paste all the code that is part of the index.ts. Okay. So generally, we keep this way. These two lines are loaders. Then app.use, I copy paste that here. I hope you got received all the lines without any disconnection. My last was app HTTP port. Yeah. So this is these two. This is underneath the TS server dot slash index.ts file. So now what we have done is, I just save this file. What we have done is we created a server, we listen to the server. Now we are establishing the route, and that route, how it will connect and log the file that we are seeing now. So this is the way we start the project. So tomorrow we'll see how to create a method, how to validate the data, how to validate the method with the right authentication and authorization. That also will come. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.